The last thing my ex-husband said before walking out of our house was that leaving me was the smartest decision he had ever made. He said it calmly, almost casually, as if he were telling me he'd made a smart investment. I was standing beside the kitchen counter with a 3-year-old girl asleep against my shoulder, one tiny hand curled around the collar of my shirt. His daughter. Our daughter. And he didn't even look at her. He picked up his suitcase, adjusted the sleeve of his expensive jacket, and glanced around the house he'd once promised would always be ours. "You'll be fine, Emily." I remember staring at him, not because I didn't understand what he was saying, because I finally understood exactly who he was. "You really believe that?" I asked. He gave me a small, confident smile. "I know that." Then he walked out. The front door closed, and for several seconds the house was completely silent. I looked down at Lily. She was still sleeping. She had no idea that her father had just chosen a life without us. I kissed the top of her head and whispered the only thing I could think of. "We'll be fine." But I was lying, because at that moment I had no idea how we were going to survive. I didn't know that 3 years later, the same man who had called leaving me the smartest decision of his life would stand in a crowded restaurant with tears in his eyes, while our daughter looked up at another man and said the word that would destroy him. "Daddy, my name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of how my husband walked away from our family, and eventually discovered that leaving us was the one decision he could never undo." 3 years earlier, I still believed marriage was something you fought for, even when it was difficult, even when you were tired, even when you didn't recognize the person sleeping beside you anymore. My husband, Nathan, and I had been married for 6 years. From the outside, we looked perfect. We lived in a comfortable suburban neighborhood outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Nathan was a successful financial consultant. I worked remotely as a graphic designer after Lily was born. We had a beautiful little girl, a comfortable home, 2 cars in the driveway, and photographs everywhere. Family vacations, Christmas mornings, Lily's first birthday, our wedding anniversary, the ordinary evidence of a life that looked happy. But photographs don't capture silence. They don't capture the way someone stops asking how your day was. They don't capture the way a husband starts sleeping with his back toward you. They don't capture the way you can sit across from someone at dinner and feel completely alone. Nathan had changed slowly. So slowly that, at first, I blamed myself. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe work was overwhelming. Maybe becoming a father had changed him. Maybe I wasn't affectionate enough. Maybe I wasn't interesting anymore. Maybe I had become too focused on Lily. I found 100 explanations. Because the truth was too painful. There was someone else. I didn't discover her through a dramatic confrontation. There was no lipstick on his collar. No hotel receipt. No anonymous message. I discovered her because of a coffee cup. One Tuesday morning, I walked into the kitchen and found a paper cup sitting beside Nathan's laptop. Written on it in black marker were 2 words. "To Nathan." Underneath was a small heart. I stared at it for a long time. Then Nathan walked in. He saw the cup. His face changed. Only for a second. But I saw it. "Who's that from?" I asked. "Someone at work." "Someone at work writes hearts on your coffee?" He sighed. "Emily, seriously?" That answer hurt more than the cup. Not because he had explained anything. Because he had made me feel unreasonable for asking. I didn't argue. I simply put the cup in the trash. That evening, Nathan barely spoke to me. 3 days later, he told me he wanted a divorce. Just like that. No counseling. No attempt to repair anything. No conversation about Lily. He had already made his decision. "I've been unhappy for a long time," he said. I sat across from him at our dining table. "How long?" He looked away. "Does it matter?" "Yes." He didn't answer. I already knew. There is someone else. His silence was enough. My chest felt hollow. "Who?" "Her name is Vanessa." The name stayed in the air between us. "Vanessa." I remember repeating it silently, as if saying it enough times would make it hurt less. "Does Lily know?" Nathan frowned. "She's 3. She's your daughter. I know. No. You don't. His expression hardened. Emily, don't do this. Do what? Turn this into some dramatic scene where I'm the villain. I stared at him. You are leaving your wife and your 3-year-old daughter for another woman. I am leaving a marriage that hasn't worked for years. You don't have to leave Lily. He looked down. And that was when I saw something I hadn't expected. Relief. He was relieved. As though fatherhood had become another obligation he wanted to escape. What are you saying? I whispered. I think some distance would be better for everyone. Distance. She'll adjust. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She's 3. Children are resilient. I stood up. You don't get to disappear and call it resilience. His jaw tightened. Then came the sentence that stayed with me for years. I'm not disappearing. I'm choosing a better life. He packed that weekend. And on Sunday afternoon, while Lily slept upstairs, Nathan carried his suitcase to the front door. I followed him. You're really doing this? He turned around. Yes. You're not even going to say goodbye to her? He hesitated. For one brief second I thought maybe he'd change his mind. Maybe he'd go upstairs. Maybe he'd kiss his daughter. Maybe he'd realize what he was doing. Instead he shook his head. That would make it harder. For who? He didn't answer. He opened the door. I stood there holding back tears. He looked at me one last time. You'll be okay, Emily. Then he smiled. And said the words I would never forget. Leaving you is probably the smartest decision I've ever made. The door closed. I didn't cry immediately. I walked upstairs. I sat beside Lily's bed. She woke up a few minutes later. Mommy. I'm here. Where's Daddy? I swallowed. He had to go. Where? I couldn't answer. So I pulled her into my arms. That night after Lily fell asleep I finally broke down. Not because I had lost my husband. Because my daughter had lost her father. And she didn't even understand why. The first 6 months were brutal. I stopped expecting Nathan to come back. But I still expected him to call. He didn't. He sent one email about paperwork. Then another about the divorce. Nothing about Lily. Nothing about her birthday. Nothing about her first day of preschool. When the divorce was finalized, Nathan's lawyer requested minimal involvement. He didn't want shared custody. He didn't want scheduled weekends. He wanted freedom. And I hated myself for feeling relieved, because at least now I knew where we stood. I stopped waiting. I changed Lily's bedroom. I removed the photographs of Nathan from the hallway. I sold the expensive dining table we'd bought together and replaced it with a smaller one. I began rebuilding our life piece by piece. But rebuilding wasn't glamorous. It meant working late after Lily went to bed. It meant eating cereal for dinner when I was too tired to cook. It meant calculating grocery bills. It meant pretending I wasn't exhausted when Lily wanted me to play princess for the 4th time that day. And it meant answering difficult questions. Mommy, why doesn't Daddy come to my school? He's busy. Why is he always busy? I would smile. Some grown-ups make choices that are hard to understand. She'd nod. Then she'd ask if we could have pancakes. Children are strange that way. They can carry enormous sadness for 30 seconds, then become excited about strawberries. I learned from her. I had to. 2 years passed. Nathan became almost a stranger. I heard things about him through mutual acquaintances. He and Vanessa had bought a luxury condo downtown. He was traveling constantly. His career was doing well. People told me he looked happy. I never asked. I didn't want to know. Meanwhile, Lily grew. She became bright, funny, stubborn, and endlessly affectionate. And eventually there was someone else in our lives. His name was Daniel Brooks. I met Daniel at a community center where I volunteered once a week. He was helping organize a fundraiser for children's literacy. The first time we spoke, I didn't think anything of him. He was polite, quiet, funny without trying too hard. Most importantly, he didn't ask me why I was divorced. He didn't treat me like damaged goods. He simply treated me like a person. Over the next year, Daniel became a friend. Nothing more. He helped carry boxes. He remembered that Lily hated peas. He knew I drank coffee without sugar. He never tried to impress me. He just showed up. One rainy afternoon, Lily slipped while running through a puddle outside the community center. She scraped her knee. She burst into tears. I rushed toward her, but Daniel got there first. He crouched down. "Hey, Lily." She sniffed. "It hurts." "I know." He didn't tell her it didn't hurt. He didn't tell her to stop crying. He simply sat beside her. "Do you want a superhero bandage or a dinosaur bandage?" She looked at him through her tears. "Dinosaur." "Excellent choice." He cleaned her knee and carefully placed the bandage. Then he looked at me. "She'll be okay." Something about those words stayed with me. Not because they were special, because for the first time in years I believed them. Daniel and I eventually started dating. Slowly. Very slowly. I was terrified. I had already trusted one man with my heart. I wasn't eager to repeat the experience. Daniel understood. He never pressured me. He never asked when we'd get married. He never demanded to meet Lily. Instead, he let our relationship grow naturally. One evening, I finally told him the whole story. We were sitting on my front porch. "I don't want you to think you're replacing anyone," I said. Daniel looked at me. "I'm not trying to replace anyone." "Then what are you trying to do?" He smiled. "Build something." I looked down. "And Lily, I care about her because she's part of your life. You're not scared." "Of what?" "Getting attached to a child who isn't yours." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Emily, children don't need people who share their DNA. They need people who keep their promises." I looked at him. "That's a dangerous thing to say." "Why?" "Because I might believe you." He smiled. "I hope you do." By the time Lily turned 6, Daniel was part of almost every ordinary moment of our life. He attended school events. He helped with science projects. He taught her how to ride a bicycle. He sat beside her when she had nightmares. He knew which stuffed rabbit she needed to sleep with. He knew she liked the crust cut off her sandwiches. He knew she would always choose chocolate ice cream. He knew that when she was upset, she didn't want to talk immediately. She just wanted someone nearby. And he stayed nearby. But we never taught Lily to call him Dad. That was something we left entirely to her. For a long time she called him Daniel. Then one evening we were driving home from the grocery store. Lily was in the back seat. Daniel was driving. I was beside him. Suddenly Lily asked, "Can I call Daniel Daddy?" The car went completely silent. Daniel looked at me. I looked at him. Then I turned around. "Why do you want to?" She shrugged. "Because he's my daddy." My heart broke. Not from sadness. From something much more complicated. I reached back and took her hand. "You can call him whatever makes you feel loved." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He didn't say anything. Lily smiled. "Daddy." Daniel laughed softly. "Yeah, kiddo. Can we get ice cream?" He shook his head. That was fast. She giggled. And I knew our family had changed forever. 6 months later, Daniel proposed. Not at a fancy restaurant. Not on a beach. Not in front of a crowd. He proposed in our kitchen. I was cooking dinner. Lily was sitting on the counter doing homework. Daniel walked in carrying a grocery bag. Then he stopped. "Emily." I turned. "What?" He pulled a small ring box from his pocket. Lily's mouth dropped open. "Is that what I think it is?" Daniel laughed. "I think you're about to ruin my proposal." She jumped off the counter. "Mommy, say yes." I started laughing. Daniel looked at me. "I've spent a long time learning that the best things in life aren't the things you plan perfectly." He opened the box. "They're the people who stay." I cried. Lily cried. Then Lily hugged both of us. And we decided to get married. We planned a small wedding. Nothing extravagant. Just family and close friends. For the first time in years, I was excited about the future. Then 3 weeks before the wedding my phone rang. It was a number I hadn't seen in years. Nathan. I almost didn't answer. But something made me press the button. Hello. There was silence. Then his voice. Emily. My stomach tightened. What do you want? I heard you're getting married. Yes. To Daniel. Yes. Another silence. Then he said, I need to see Lily. I closed my eyes. Why? Because she's my daughter. The irony nearly made me laugh. You haven't seen her in 3 years. I know. You haven't called. I know. You missed her birthday. I know. You weren't there when she started school. I know. Then why now? He exhaled. Because I made mistakes. No, Nathan. I looked toward the living room. Lily was laughing with Daniel. You made choices. I want to fix them. You can't fix 3 years. Maybe not. His voice cracked. But I want to try. I didn't answer. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. I want to come to the wedding. I hung up. Daniel found me 10 minutes later. He immediately knew something was wrong. Who was it? I hesitated. Nathan. Daniel didn't react. He simply waited. He wants to see Lily. Daniel nodded. And he wants to come to the wedding. Daniel looked down. How do you feel? Angry. That's understandable. I'm scared. That's understandable too. I looked at him. What if he tries to take her? Daniel came closer. We'll handle whatever comes. What if Lily wants him? He took my hands. Then we'll let her have whatever relationship she chooses when she's ready. I looked at him. You really mean that? Yes. He squeezed my hands. I'm not marrying you to own your daughter. He paused. I'm marrying you because I love you. And if loving you means sometimes standing beside you while difficult people enter your life, then that's what I'll do. I started crying. Daniel pulled me into his arms. And for the first time I realized something. Nathan had once taught me that love could disappear. Daniel was teaching me that love could stay. Nathan arrived at the wedding rehearsal. He looked different. Older. Less confident. He stood across the room watching Lily. She didn't recognize him. That was perhaps the hardest moment of all. Nathan whispered, That's her. I nodded. That's Lily. He stared. She's beautiful. I know. He swallowed. Does she know who I am? No. His eyes closed. For a moment I saw regret. Real regret. But regret wasn't enough. Not yet. I want to tell her. Not today. Why? Because this is not your moment. He looked at me. I know. Tomorrow is my wedding. Lily deserves to enjoy it without being confused. He nodded. I understand. Then he walked away. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The wedding day was beautiful. Lily wore a small white dress. Daniel waited at the front. My mother cried before I even reached the aisle. And then I saw Nathan. He was standing at the back. He hadn't been invited. But somehow he had come anyway. I almost stopped walking. Daniel saw him. Then he looked at me. Not angry. Not threatened. Just steady. I kept walking. When I reached him, Lily stood between us as our flower girl. Daniel bent down and whispered something to her. She smiled. Then she took his hand. The ceremony began. For the first time in years I didn't feel like someone's abandoned wife. I felt like myself. A woman who had survived. A mother who had rebuilt. A person who had chosen happiness. And then came the moment that changed everything. After the ceremony, everyone gathered for dinner. Lily was sitting beside Daniel. She had frosting on her nose. Daniel wiped it away. She laughed. Then she looked at him. Daddy. Daniel froze. What? Can I have another piece of cake? He smiled. One more. Across the room Nathan heard it. I watched his face collapse. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like something inside him had finally broken. He walked outside. A few minutes later I followed. He was standing beneath the string lights behind the restaurant. You heard her, I said. He nodded. She called him Daddy. Yes. He looked at me. She doesn't know me. No. She doesn't even know my name. She knows your name. That's not what I mean. I stayed silent. Nathan wiped his face. I thought I had time. I almost laughed. Time for what? To come back. You don't come back when it's convenient. I know. You left. I know. You chose another life. I know. You told me it was the smartest decision you'd ever made. He looked at me. I was wrong. Those 3 words were probably the first honest thing he'd said to me in years. But they weren't enough. Being wrong doesn't undo what you did. I know. He looked through the window. Lily was laughing with Daniel. I missed everything. Yes. Her first day of school. Yes. Her first loose tooth. Yes. Her first dance recital. Yes. She learned to ride a bike. Yes. He closed his eyes. I missed all of it. I didn't comfort him. Not because I wanted him to suffer. Because those moments belonged to Lily. They weren't ammunition. They were her childhood. He had chosen not to be there. And that was the truth. Nathan didn't leave. Instead, he started asking for small things. Could he send Lily a birthday card? Could he attend her school play? Could he meet her with me present? I refused some requests, accepted others. But I made one rule. He would never buy his way into her heart. No expensive gifts. No dramatic promises. No showing up with a new car. If he wanted a relationship with Lily, he would have to build it. Slowly. Honestly. And he did. His first meeting with her lasted 20 minutes. They sat at a park. Nathan looked terrified. Lily looked curious. She held her stuffed rabbit. Nathan smiled. Hi. Hi. I'm Nathan. She tilted her head. Mommy's friend. He looked at me. Then back at her. I'm your dad. Lily frowned. She looked confused. Daniel is my dad. Nathan's face changed. I thought he might argue. Instead, he nodded. I know. Are you my other dad? He swallowed. I guess I'm your biological dad. She considered that. Then she asked, where were you? Nathan stared at the ground. I made a bad choice. What choice? He looked at me. Then at Lily. I thought I wanted a different life. Lily frowned. Without me. Nathan's eyes filled with tears. Yes. She was silent. Then she picked up a stick. That was mean. Nathan nodded. Yes. She shrugged. Okay. Then she stood up. Do you want to see the ducks? Nathan blinked. Yes. And just like that, their first meeting continued. Not with forgiveness. Not with a miracle. With ducks. Over the next several months, Nathan slowly became part of Lily's life. He attended her soccer games. He came to parent-teacher meetings when I allowed it. He learned her favorite books. He stopped buying expensive gifts. He started buying things that actually mattered. A replacement shoelace. A library book. A purple umbrella because she had once complained about the rain. He began understanding that being a father wasn't about being important. It was about being present. But there was another problem. Vanessa. The woman Nathan had chosen over me. Their relationship began falling apart. First, I didn't know. Then Nathan called one evening. She's leaving. I didn't know what to say. Okay. She says I'm obsessed with Lily. She isn't wrong. He sighed. She says I'm trying to rebuild a family that I destroyed. I was silent. Emily. What? Was she right? I looked out the window. About what? Did I destroy it? I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, you didn't destroy our family in one moment, Nathan. You destroyed it every time you chose not to show up. He was quiet. I deserved that. Yes. Then he whispered, I don't know how to live with what I did. I closed my eyes. Then don't run from it. Vanessa left him. Nathan moved into a smaller apartment. He lost the life he had once bragged about. But something strange happened. For the first time, he stopped trying to impress people. He started volunteering at Lily's school. He joined a father-daughter activity group. He began therapy. He didn't tell me about most of it. I heard through others. And slowly I started seeing the difference. He wasn't trying to win Lily. He was trying to become someone worthy of knowing her. One Saturday afternoon, I arrived at the park to pick Lily up. She ran toward me. "Mommy." Then she stopped. "Daddy made me a kite." Daniel was standing beside her. Nathan was a few feet away. I looked at the kite. It was terrible. The tail was crooked. The paper was wrinkled. One side was held together with tape. Lily was proud of it. "Look." I smiled. "It's beautiful." Nathan laughed. "It barely flies." Lily shook her head. "That's because Daddy made it." She pointed at Daniel. Then she looked toward Nathan. "Other Daddy helped me fix it." The words made all three adults freeze. Lily didn't notice. She was already running toward the field. I looked at Nathan. His eyes were wet. Daniel smiled. Not bitterly. Not competitively. Just peacefully. And I realized something. There was no winner here. There was simply a little girl who had more people loving her. And maybe that was enough. A year after my wedding, Nathan asked to speak with me. We sat at a small coffee shop. He looked nervous. "I need to tell you something." I waited. "I used to think you were the reason I was unhappy." I didn't respond. "I blamed the marriage." He stared at his coffee. "I blamed you for changing after Lily was born." Then I blamed Lily. My heart tightened. I told myself I needed freedom. He looked up. But the truth is, I didn't know how to handle responsibility. I listened. I wanted the exciting version of life. The easy version. He shook his head. "I thought leaving would make me happy." And did it? He laughed sadly. "For about 6 months. Then he looked at me. Then I realized I had traded something real for something shiny. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt sadness. Because I knew exactly what he had lost. "You can't go back," I said. "I know. You can't become the father you would have been." "I know. You can only become the father you are now." He nodded. "That's what I'm trying to do." I smiled faintly. "Then keep doing it." He looked relieved. "Thank you." I stood up. Then he said, "Emily." I turned. "Yes." "Do you hate me?" I thought about it. "No." He looked surprised. "I don't love you anymore." He nodded. "But I don't hate you." "Why?" "Because hate would mean you're still taking up too much space in my life." He smiled sadly. "Fair enough." I walked out. And for the first time, leaving Nathan behind didn't feel like losing anything. Felt like closure. 3 years after the wedding, Lily was 9. One evening, she came home from school carrying a paper. "Mommy." I turned. "What happened?" She held it up. "It's my family tree." I smiled. "Let me see." She showed me. At the top was my name. Then Daniel. Then Lily. And below it, in smaller writing, "Nathan, my biological father." I looked at her. "Who helped you write this?" "My teacher." "What did you tell her?" Lily shrugged. "That I have 2 dads." I smiled. "Is that what you think?" She nodded. "Daniel is the daddy who raised me." She pointed at Nathan's name. "And Nathan is the daddy who learned how to be my dad later." I felt tears sting my eyes. "That's very thoughtful." She hugged me. Then whispered, "Mommy." "Yes." "Are you sad?" "Sometimes." "About Daddy leaving?" I hesitated. "Sometimes." She looked at me. "Do you wish he never left?" I smiled sadly. "I wish he had made different choices." She nodded. "Me too." Then she ran toward the kitchen. "Daddy, I need help with my math." Daniel called back. "Coming." I stood there for a moment, watching them. The man who had left us had once believed leaving was the smartest decision of his life. Maybe at the time he believed it. Maybe he truly thought freedom was happiness. But life has a strange way of teaching people the value of things only after they've lost them. Nathan lost his marriage. He lost years of his daughter's childhood. He lost the right to be there for moments he could never recover. And he learned something no apology could change. You can rebuild a relationship. You can earn forgiveness. You can become a better person. But you cannot go backward. You cannot buy back a Tuesday morning when your daughter was 3. You cannot return to her first day of school. You cannot relive the night she was sick and reached for a father's hand. You cannot erase the empty chair at her birthday party. And you certainly cannot demand that a child forget who was there when you weren't. That was the part Nathan finally understood. When Lily called Daniel Daddy, it wasn't a punishment. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't something I had taught her to say. It was simply the truth of her life. Daniel had earned that word one ordinary day at a time. With pancakes. With scraped knees. With school projects. With bedtime stories. With rainy mornings. With patience. With promises kept. Nathan had once told me that leaving me was the smartest decision he'd ever made. Years later, he admitted something different. He said the smartest decision he could make now was to stop trying to change the past and start showing up for the future. And that's exactly what he did. Not perfectly, not quickly, but consistently. He became part of Lily's life. Not by replacing Daniel. Not by demanding a title. Not by pretending the missing years hadn't happened. He simply showed up. And eventually Lily stopped calling him Nathan and started calling him Dad Nathan. It wasn't the word he'd once dreamed of, but he accepted it. Because he'd finally learned that love isn't something you're entitled to. Something you earn. As for me, I stopped wondering whether I had been enough. I stopped asking why he left. I stopped comparing myself to Vanessa. I stopped replaying that night at the front door. Because eventually I understood something that took me years to accept. His decision to leave wasn't proof that I wasn't worth staying for. It was proof that he wasn't ready to appreciate what he had. And I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life defining myself by the person who walked away. I had a daughter who deserved happiness. I had a husband who chose us every day. And I had finally learned to choose myself. One Sunday morning, years later, Lily was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. Daniel was making pancakes. Nathan had dropped by to take Lily to a museum. He stood at the door holding 2 coffees. Lily looked up. Dad. Nathan smiled. Then she turned toward Daniel. Daddy, are the pancakes ready? Daniel called from the kitchen. 2 minutes. Nathan laughed. For a moment I watched the 3 of them. 3 people connected by a complicated history. 1 man who had left. 1 man who had stayed. And 1 little girl who had grown up knowing that love could come in different forms. Nathan caught my eye. He smiled. There was no bitterness anymore. No competition. Just acceptance. I smiled back. Then Lily grabbed Nathan's hand. Come on, Dad. We're going to be late. He laughed. Okay. She pulled him toward the door. Then she stopped and ran back to Daniel. She hugged him. Bye, Daddy. Daniel kissed her forehead. Have fun. Then she hugged me. Love you, Mommy. Love you too. The door closed. I stood beside Daniel. He slipped his arm around my waist. Ready for pancakes? I laughed. Always. He kissed my forehead. And I looked around the kitchen. The same kind of ordinary morning I once thought I had lost forever. Only now I understood something. Sometimes the life you lose isn't the life you were meant to keep. Sometimes the person who walks away creates the space for the people who were always meant to stay. Nathan thought leaving me was the smartest decision of his life. Maybe he was right about one thing. Leaving changed everything. It forced me to become stronger. It taught me that love without loyalty isn't enough. It taught me that family isn't defined only by blood. And most importantly, it taught me that when someone walks out of your life, you don't have to spend the rest of your life standing at the door waiting for them to return. Sometimes you close the door, you turn around, and you discover that the people who truly love you are already standing beside you. And that was the moment I finally understood. I hadn't lost my family when Nathan left. I had simply stopped trying to save the wrong one. And years later, when my daughter called another man daddy, I didn't hear the word as a reminder of everything I'd lost. I heard it as proof of everything we had built.